Welcome back to a ShopDog-Garage video. We're going to work on the motorcycle a little bit more. We're getting close on that. And I had a thought earlier, and I came out and did a couple measurements, and I'm not wrong. The powder coat on this transmission is costing me nothing but grief. The transmission and the engine have about 5 ohms between them at the moment, and I bet that changes. So I'm sure that they expected that just mating them here would make them electrically the same, and it would, but it's really only riding a little bit through the bolts. So luckily I was planning to do ground straps anyway. I'm very disappointed. You know, that must have been another registered surface, just like here, because this wasn't paint, it was powder coat. It feels like they didn't do this surface. So I have a feeling that between this surface and this surface, assuming there's no gaskets, because I actually don't know that, as long as there's no gasket, then once these were bolted up, you'd probably get pretty good ground. You know, although you always wonder with this cheap chrome crap. But anyway, that would probably take care of that. Don't know that certainly, but it's not on there right now. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at here. So, luckily, I was planning on grounding everybody to a common point anyway. So, well, I'll think on that for a little bit. All right, things are progressing. So, we've got the start, and I've been doing testing. That's why it's still hanging. We've got to start to a good chassis ground. So, under here, we've got star washers and paint is cleaned up for it. Same under here. So suddenly this is a good ground. This location is now grounding the chassis. I'm about to ground it to the transmission at that point. Once that happens, then I think I just need to get the engine grounded. I'm also going to do a little cleanup at that ground point. That shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, we're getting really close now. I finally figured out, you know, didn't know this was powder coated and too many things were hinging on it. So we'll get there. Ground's gonna be good. After some deliberation and thinking, I decided that the connector that's gonna hang in here is gonna be a weather pack, because that's gonna be the easiest for me to be able to disassemble in future. So there'll be a weather pack here, and then those weird little connectors on the other end. So let's get this heat shrunk and keep moving. Don't forget though, we're going to swap red and blue because the license plate is the opposite of our computer. Getting closer and closer. Just started pulling this harness through. So you can see how this is going to wind up. We're probably going to steal one of these holes to mount it to, but I left plenty of room. I'd rather have it longer than shorter. So now this is going to become our little bullet connectors right here. So let's get those done real quick. Real quick before I terminate those, thought I would work on grounding a little bit, because now I've got all that set up. So let me grab a nice sharp probe, and we're coming right off that cable. So let's just go right to a jug bolt. Look at that. That's pretty good. Another bolt. Pretty good. Handlebar. Just right there. That's good. Let's go to this brake master here. That's good. Let's go to the shock bolt. That's floaty. We expected that though. Let's go to, is there any exposed spot on the swing arm? Because I don't want to scratch anything. Now, let's just go to this bolt on the swing arm. Look at that, 300 ohms. That's what we thought. Swing arm, no good ground path. Okay, good bolt on a starter. Nice and low. I did have to clean up all my grounds on my plate because of all this stinking powder coat. That's what I've been fighting. I would love to have taken these apart and ground all the powder coat between them off. But I have a feeling that now that I've got a little more going through the chassis here, that we're actually probably fine. Look at that. No resistance down here. So this block probably not going to be grounded. I don't know why it would be. There's no reason for it to be. The bolt is. The block really isn't. But it also doesn't need to be. But it is anodized. So, as we come up here, this brake probably gets ground through the brake hose. Don't know that it needs it. And, of course, let's ground right next to the magneto. And that's beautiful. So, I think we're actually doing pretty good suddenly. Alright, I know I've covered this before, but just to remind people, a thing you can do after you've heat shrunk that and you know you still want more, cut a piece, slide it on there, slide it out of your way so you can do all your work, and now I can pull this forward and leave very little of that wire exposed, you know, just enough for whoever's hooking it up to be able to see their colors. That'll be nice out of the way. And with that, now ignore how this is sitting. All I did for now for testing and transport was I chucked a long bolt in there. That's obviously not going to work, but it's solving a problem for me right now. It's making this thing sit where I need it to sit for testing. These are the ends for down here. Oh, I'll plug them in just a second here and get those plugged in ready to test. This wiring will get zipped up when we do the zippy, but I got it down so I can see it. And I'm getting ready to do some actual testing. All right, we got that plugged in. Let's turn it on. We're still not using the actual battery. You know, we're doing all that, but we're using that location and that battery cable. That's it. So turn it on, put it in override. And before anybody says anything, yes, I know the leads are backwards. It does not matter. But this is a nice sharp probe. It makes me happy. So one of the very first things I want to do, verify that I got good voltage. I got 12.28. Nothing else should have voltage at this point. And we know nothing's on because we don't have a headlight. So let's turn the bike on. So that's the lock position. Okay, that works. That works. Okay, that works. Let's go to this one. That one works. Let's come over here. You can see license plate lights are working and the running light is on. Okay. Now, I'm not going to be able to test that anymore because we don't have brake fluid, but we tested those wires before. But I can grab that. So let's see if you guys are in frame here. So handbrake, boom, problem solved. Okay. Let's see, what else did I need to test at this point? Let's turn the ignition on and let's grab a probe. And you'll see we now have ignition. So that is working. Yeah, okay, we got sag. All right, so 11.8, 11.7, so not much drop. Okay, we know that the starter will cycle, so let's do it again. Starter cycles, happy with that. There's literally nothing else I can test. We already know that I had put a meter on these yesterday, and I do have an end on them. That's why they got tape on them so they don't short. But we're not going to mount the side lights. Those will have to get terminated on the other end at that point in time. But yeah, everything that I can test works. Don't know if the regulator's good. No way for me to test that. Engine's got to work. Don't know if the ignition is set up correctly. engine's got to turn over. So there's some things I can't test. Obviously, they're going to have to pull these 2 screws and go in and adjust that for however they want the ignition module. But outside of that, oh, and, you know, set the timing, I don't see much left to do here. Got to clean up, get my documentation together, and then there's really no reason at this point that Brian can't take this home. I have a couple of other little projects I want to do, but they're nothing crazy. One of which is this plate that the seat actually mounts on, now that I know about it. I would like to see something non-conductive attached here. So I got to think of what I want to do there. It can't reach it, but what if a battery strap fails and a battery bounces up? Then it can reach it. So I would just feel better, even if it's never needed, to have something non-conductive attached here. Yeah, really, I think we've done a good job. We've got good grounds. All the wiring is safe, out of the way. Customer's happy. I don't know what else I can do at this point. So I think we're going to shut it down, and hopefully at some point we can do an actual closeout on this project when it's a running bike, because we're really close to the point where it's going to have to go to get, you know, to get the belt and the chain and get all that done, get everything primed with fluid. All of that's got to happen. So I've got a half hour to clean up, some organization, some notes, and Brian can take the bike. So what a weird project this has been. I've definitely learned a thing or two. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you liked it.